Dana, how frustrating is it for you? I mean, obviously, such a fantastic card that you've got here that you're spending half the week talking about the culinary union and the politics and all those things, and with related to a company that, like you said, you're not even really a part of.
Yeah, obviously, it's not that it's frustrating. I'm just more pissed off. But that's what they're trying to do. Like I said, man, these guys are like gnats. They fly around your head, they get in your ears, they get in your eyes. It's not like a horsefly or mosquito. They don't do any damage. They're a nuisance, They're a nuisance, and what makes me craziest is how apparent it is and transparent, and you can see right through it, and they just don't care. It's like when you when you elect politicians. Politicians are supposed to create more jobs. They're supposed to do great things for the city. They're supposed to bring events in to create revenue for the city, business owners that live in the city and do business in the city. And they do the exact opposite because they're being funded by the union or whatever else it might be. I don't want to get all into politics and shit, but it's disgusting, and it makes me, I don't know. It's just real. When you really look at how this country works and how things go, it's a little, just bums you out.
Have you ever heard Lorenzo
talk about that? You say they're a nuisance, but they had a tactic this week that seemed to have a little success. And are you afraid that they're going to start that again?
Well, success for them would be to. Success for them to be would be for the event to not happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they weren't successful in anything because even the 18 and under, the vote doesn't happen until Wednesday. And let me tell you what. If they vote that 18 and under shouldn't be allowed to come here, I mean, the people in Boston should just, go fucking crazy. Like the other sports that I talked about and things that go on at some of these other sports and with their athletes and whatever it might be. And the worst part is, you got these politicians that are saying 18 and under. These kids have parents. Who are you to try to parent other people's kids? That's not what you were elected to do. You weren't elected to become children's parents. You self-righteous clown. Are you out of your mind? This Murphy guy is a typical, stereotypical politician. I mean, just a bad guy.
Dana, how do you think that, in 97 you had Senator McCain on CNN talking about the sport, how bad it was, and you've made a lot of strides, and yet here you still are. You have politicians in 2013 talking about the sport as,
It would be one thing if it was about the sport, though. That's the other. That's what I'm talking about, the transparency here. We're not talking about the sport.
Well, they're trying to allege that sport is too dangerous.
It's about the union.
To see, right?
It's about the union.
Right.
That he knows nothing about, that 25 members of them were all in there wearing the same T-shirt. And he says, he knows nothing about it. Typical liar, politician, and
Dana, how hostile? I know back when they were trying to sanction UFC, legalize MMA in Massachusetts, you, Joe Cavallaro, other guys were involved in sort of pushing that process. How hostile was the union then when you guys were trying to put that together?
They weren't. That was last time we were here. This wasn't going on. You know what I mean? It was starting to brew, but it wasn't at the level that it's at
trying
now.
To block licensing.
Right. Oh, we came in here last time. We put on a show and had no issues whatsoever.
Do you think you'll have a fight here again?
Yeah, we'll see how this vote goes on Wednesday. Like I said, if they vote that 18 and under shouldn't be able to come, it's just, is that really what this guy was elected to do? To start parenting? He's parenting for other parents here in the state. This is one of those guys, a politician that you elect that starts acting like he's going to make all your decisions for you, and it's not what you were elected to do. It's not what the people of Massachusetts put you in office to do, to start parenting for them and telling them what they can and can't do. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. Is that what people elected him to do?
Is there anything Lorenzo can do to shut him up?
No.
What do they want?
They want $10 million. That's what they want. If they get station casinos unionized, they get $10 million more a year for their union. And what do you think? You get these guys that are launching this attack, you think they work for free?
What's stopping them from unionizing?
The employees. Employees don't want to be a union. If you really looked into this thing and dove into how these unions work, these negotiations that go on, when MGM got unionized, right? These guys went into the lunchrooms and chased these employees around. It's actually pretty dirty and very aggressive, and you hear union, you think it's a good thing. A lot of people that are in unions aren't happy to be in a union.
I just don't get what they're trying to pressure Lorenzo to do.
To allow them to come into their casino, set up camp, and try to unionize station casinos.
Dana, Councilman Murphy has said that no one from your office has tried to contact them with the hearing that was held. Is that true? Did anyone try to reach out to them?
I have no idea. I can tell you, we were at the hearing. You know, our guy Mike Mersch went at it with them at the hearing. I tried to get him on the radio this morning to debate, but he wasn't in the office at 11 o'clock this morning. He wasn't at work yet.
You know, you mentioned that you might want to do a show up in Maine. Obviously, New England. It's a collective here. Do you think there'd be any influence on a show up there from what's going on here?
Who knows? At the end of the day, I really don't care. These guys are going to run around, waste their time, spend their money, and you know, are they going to shut the UFC down? They're going to. We got everything done here that we needed to get done. We got the Social Security thing fixed. We got the Chael. The other thing, the Chael Sonnen thing. Unanimous vote that he should have his license. And again, I would be shocked. I mean, I would be floored if the 18 and under thing passes too.
Do they not understand that 16-year-olds train MMA?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Not only 16-year-olds, there's little girls and little boys all over the world that train. This is the new martial art, and kids train in this thing. So do men, so do women. And who are you to try to make these decisions for people on what they can do with their time, money, and it's crazy.
Dana, have you ever heard Lorenzo or Frank have a conversation where it's like, maybe we should just do this? I mean, it's $10 million a year, but it would erase headaches.
What I think Frank and Lorenzo should do is get more aggressive. I would. Can you imagine if I ran station casinos, what would be going on right now? If I had that money and that whatever, those guys would wish they never, ever fucking picked up the phone and tried to call me. I think that Frank and Lorenzo should get so aggressive on these guys and just go crazy on them. But like I said, I don't run station casinos, so.
Dana, with the solid vote, what was your concern level at that time? And did you have a backup plan in place just in case something went crazy and they didn't?
No, we knew that. How could you not license Chael Sonnen? He's licensed in every state and country that we have licensing in. You know what I mean? It would have been, if he wouldn't have got licensed here. Oh my God, that would have been a war.
Dana, were you in that meeting, the discussions of if he was going to get licensed?
No.
You were on the phone?
Do you think they want me in this stuff? Are you kidding me? We let the guys, the cool heads, go handle that stuff.
Dana, they showed a video of something of Chael?
Yeah, they showed a video. So this is what they're. First of all, 90% of the videos that were shown in that thing were all Rampage. That's really the guy that they're using to attack the UFC is Rampage.
Dana, Councilman Murphy, he did bring up the YouTube video of Rampage, and I had to correct him. But he said that it was a 2-minute video on how to pick up chicks, and it was involved in chloroform. And I had to correct him. He was not part of the UFC when that video was made.
It's true. Most of the videos they showed in there were Rampage.
Either way.
Yeah, there was more than just that one. They showed more videos of Rampage, and then the Chael Sonnen one was about his fight with Anderson, and it's the fight business. You know what I mean? And yeah, some guys are going to say some mean things sometimes.
Dana, how much does it bother you, Bo? But first it was personal with New York. Now this is your hometown, and it's almost like the union wants to really hit you below the belt. I mean, is there any point where you go?
It's not kicking me below the belt. They're just, like I said, they're gnats. They're little flying gnats. They don't do any real damage. They're just irritating and in your eyes and in your ears. And,
but is there a magic number for you to say, all right, we'll give you this if you let us just leave us alone from New York?
No. I don't want them to leave us alone. Keep spending your union dues money. Keep spending your union members' money to mess with the UFC and mess with me and all this stuff. I could care less. Put out as many websites about me as you want. Do a movie about me. Do whatever you want. Put up billboards. I could give a shit. The union does not bother me. I could care less. It blows my mind that these, obviously the guys like Murphy that are in the union's pockets, these women's groups, gay rights groups, and many other groups that can be used, the union uses them as pawns in their in their whole scheme to mess with us. That's really what's being done, and that's again serious issues, whether it's women's rights or battered women or the gay and lesbian community or whatever it is. They use these groups to hide behind them as shields to try to get this stuff shut down. So I guess that day in there they brought in the Boston Brazilians women
Now.
Yeah, okay. So they brought in some Brazilian women's group saying how this guy said horrible things about Brazil and all this stuff. They're using these groups that probably actually do good work for people that in real situations where they need it, and they use them to try to get station casinos. And it's so apparent that it's crazy that people don't.
Do you expect them to go after Viacom now that they have Rampage?
Thank you. Yeah, you think they're protesting outside Viacom? Hey, no, we don't like Rampage. He did this, he did that. They don't give. That's great question. They don't give a shit about what Rampage said, what he did, or any of this other stuff, or the Chael Sonnen stuff. That's what I'm saying. These are all just pawns to attack the UFC. Because if they were really upset about the Rampage thing, they'd be chasing them instead of us.
Did you breathe a sigh of relief when the Bulger verdict came in?
No, not even a little bit. Hell, were you gonna ask me a question?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I know, just to go back. There's really no other place in the country besides Boston and New York where you've encountered this tough of a fight with unions and regulators.
There's like not even close.
No. It's just the East Coast, man. The East Coast. A lot of these politicians out here are funded by union guys.
And speaking of Rampage, he goes back to work on November 2nd, pay-per-view for a competitor. Any competitive spirits come out? You counter program maybe, some
No.
last-minute live show, anything like that?
No, not at all. You know, I'm sure you guys saw the when the thing came out, when they did the press conference, all they talked about was me. The press conference. What are they going to talk about? That fight? Well, you guys have lost your last 10 fights. How do you think this fight's going to go? Well, I can tell you this, one of us is going to win. Somebody's O's got to go. But it's the opposite of what you normally talk about. Obviously they need money, and good for them. Let them do their thing. I'm not whatever at all about it.
So your attitude with Bellator right now is just let him exist. I don't really care. I mean, normally you're the guy that likes to crush.
You're talking about how's your competitive spirit feeling? My video blog does more fucking viewers than their television show does. I'm not feeling very competitive.
You gonna run a show head-to-head on November 2nd?
No, not at all. No. Those guys have I saw that Bjork was talking, some smack. I'm like, dude, just shut up and run your business. That's over, man. You probably should have done that in the beginning when you had some legs to stand on. He needs to just shut up and run his business. They're hurting.
What's the story with the rumor about Nick Diaz fighting Lyoto Machida?
So we had heard that Diaz wanted to fight at 185. So Joe Silva said, if he wants to fight at 185, have him fight Machida. I was like, Machida? It's kind of a big size difference, but he wants to. If he did want to fight at 85, he said he wanted to fight Anderson. So he said, is it true he wants to fight at 85? If he does he want to fight Machida? And I'm waiting to hear back from him.
So far, nothing.
No, but yeah, they said we're going to talk and we'll get back.
Do you like that fight?
Listen, if Diaz wanted to fight at 85, we'd make the fight.
Does that mean Lyoto is committed to going to 185?
Yeah, he would.
Just for that fight, or he wants?
No, he's talking about going to 85.
Is there a deadline on that offer when you expect to hear back from Nick?
Lyoto actually.
No, we'll see.
Lyoto actually said to Brazil that he would fight, so he's just waiting on.
That he would fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Dana, quick question. What's the relationship with you and Stacey Knapp over at Victor? Will that change if they go over to Showtime in 2014?
No, I everybody thinks that I want everybody to fail and dry up and blow away. She's great, and again, we have all these smaller shows to bring men into the UFC. We need shows to bring women into the UFC too.
But you can't stay in Showtime. You've made that clear that you hate the Showtime guys and that you felt they try to basically run you out.
Well, I won't be dealing with Showtime. She will. Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but no biggie.
You said more shows in the UK next year, especially with this new deal. Is Ireland finally going to get that show? Is that one of the spots that's on the map?
Definitely.
2014, definitely happening.
Yep.
Any kind of a time frame, first part of the year, latter part of the year?
I don't know. There is, but I don't know off the top of my head.
And did you mention South Africa too?
I did.
Is
Yep.
that-
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You know, when we announced that Gary Cook was taking over in England, told you guys that it was going to be. He's a sharp guy. He's a great guy, and he's kicking ass over there. He's doing a really good job.
Dana, did you guys suggest to Fox that you'd have a live show to kick off Fox Sports 1, or did Fox come to you and want a show?
They came to us and asked us to launch the network. And you know, when we first did the deal with Fox, we had to get all of our content on television across all their platforms. So we, you know, I said, I got to have The Ultimate Fighter on FX, and then we can move other stuff to Fuel, and I need this, and I need that, and I did everything that we needed. And the intent was always that they were going to launch a new network. And I said, what do you think if we launched a sports network? Well, would you guys want to get behind that? We just said, hell yeah, we do. That would be awesome. You know, and they've literally done we've been in this deal with them a year and a half, and this Saturday we launched Fox Sports 1. I mean, these guys are just, to explain to you guys what it's like to be in business with Fox, it's unbelievable.
What do they want to do on
It's too good to be true.
I'm sorry, Dana. What do they want to do on Super Bowl weekend? Do they want to do a Fox Sports 1 Saturday night before the Sunday Super Bowl?
Yeah, they want us to do a fight in Jersey.
The Saturday
for the
night
Super Bowl. Yeah.
Pay-per-view or on Fox Sports 1?
No, it'll probably be a pay-per-view. Yeah.
Dana, Alistair Overeem, when he came to the UFC, big time hype behind that. Since then, you know, 1-1 suspensions. How would you describe his relationship, or I guess his time in the UFC?
Well, he's had a rough ride, and I don't know. You know, we thought he'd come in, he'd probably win a couple fights and then be fighting for the title. But we know the history. So see what happens Saturday.
You said that Fox Sports 1 wants you to put a pay-per-view on the night for the Super Bowl. How would a pay-per-view benefit them?
Well, because the UFC will be in town with them. You know, like this thing we're launching Fox Sports 1. We're doing. I'm going to the Patriots game on Friday night and doing a live hit on the Patriots game. I'm doing a live hit at the Red Sox game on Saturday. And then when we do this thing, that's my point. What you just asked is exactly my point. How does that benefit them? Because they're trying to help grow the sport and build the brand. They're the most unselfish, unbelievable business partners to be in business with.
And the second question then, you know, if you look compared to ESPN, the history of sports cable channels against ESPN hasn't been very good. You know, so obviously you have the broadcast network part of your deal that you have, but you know, the likelihood of success against ESPN is really going to be a long road. Does that concern you at all? And
well, the real question is, I mean, do you expect to start a sports channel and come out and kick ESPN's ass? Of course not. I mean, anything takes time to build, and you know, it's like these guys that try to jump in and say they're the new competitor to the UFC. And I'm standing here in front of media all the time talking about the next competitor. The UFC has been here for 20 years. This November will be 20 years. We've been here for 13 years. Our first show that we did was, at the Trump Taj Mahal with 3,500 paid tickets, and the rest goes on. And over the last 13 years, we've built to where we are today. That's how you build a business. It takes time. Here's what if your ESPN scares you about Fox. First of all, they've got the money. They've got the money to go toe-to-toe for content, to pull in all the big sports, whether it's the NFL and having big games on there. And they're smart guys. They're young, aggressive, smart guys. Are they going to dive in and do this thing overnight? No, but they got the staying power and the game plan to grow and build.
Dana, with the change of the landscape in Europe and Ireland, you kind of said before that people in America they're not going to watch a pay-per-view in the middle of the day when it's nighttime over there. In terms of title fights, do you predict that the market over there is going to change enough that you can have a title fight over there because the market's going to be so good?
Bingo.
The US won't matter.
Everything, I've said this since day one, everything starts with a television deal. You have to have the right deal with the right partners to be able to get into a market. Are we gonna, if we're in the UK, right? UK and Ireland, are we gonna build a huge sport that the whole country gets behind and loves at 3 o'clock in the morning? The answer to that is no. Hell no is the answer to that. You have to have fights at the right time in their market that make sense to them, and that is exactly what we were working on. You're exactly right. And with this BT deal, you know, we were on ESPN at 3 in the morning, and everybody was bitching about the way they covered it, the way it aired, you know, all the things that happened, because we had a rights deal. We just had to make sure that the fans over there could see it who wanted to see it. Now we got the right guy in place, we got the right television deal, and now we start to build off that and start to do fights that matter over there at the right time.
And finally, one thing about Conor. The national broadcaster in Ireland, RT, are making a documentary about him. That's completely unheard of. RT have never given MMA any sort of coverage. That's because of Conor's personality. Would you consider doing some sort of tough smashes maybe with an Irish team against, because Irish fighters couldn't get into the last tough smashes because Ireland is not in the United Kingdom, and there's a lot of great fighters in Ireland that are looking for their chance to get into the Ultimate Fighter. Maybe Conor coaching them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like you were saying earlier, it's happening over there. There's a lot of tough guys coming out of the country and training. We'll see what happens. We're not talking about doing a tough that way yet, but those guys can get into tough. I mean, believe me, I don't give a shit what your accent is or where you fucking come from. If you're tough enough to get into the Ultimate Fighter, you're getting in. I don't care where you're from or who's part of what country or whatever.
Conor seemed to,
the best guys.
He seemed to love riding around with you down the strip, that video.
Yeah, he's a great kid, man. And like he was just saying, it's true. The hype behind this kid, when I was in Ireland, it was crazy. And he is the next guy, you know, following the footsteps of Stevie Collins and Wayne McCullough and Barry McGuigan.
Well, we know too, though, you know, being from Boston here, the Irish guys can get a little dicey, a little rowdy at the games. We got a lot of Brazilians. I mean, what's your take on the crowd? I got to say, when I walked into the Garden, you know, I was psyched that we're doing this there. But I'm curious how you feel the vibe's going to be, and just, you know, with all this other stuff that's going on, are you able to sort of clarify and get through and be just psyched again about doing a fight here in your hometown?
Yeah, I am, and it is going to be that way. I mean, I was walking around yesterday, and I was bumping into, yesterday was Wednesday, I was bumping into people from England that were here for the fight. Last night we met people that were from Brazil, we met people from Mexico, and met people from all over the country here. There was a dude last night from Australia who came here for the fight, was here on Wednesday. The fight is Saturday, you know? So I think as it gets closer, there's gonna be a lot of people. There's gonna be Irish and English and Brazilian, and it's just, you guys know, you've been going to fights enough. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna make the crowd that much better.
Well, I was on the tee, and a guy told me he's going to the fights, and he was totally psyched, so, you know.
No, it's
Do you
gonna
think
be
the fact
awesome.
Boston's such a big Irish town, it's sort of, it'll be,
That's why I did that poster.
Yeah, of course.
All the things that we
I mean, you're
did.
expecting
So these posters that we made, I literally sent them to every Irish bar in Boston, New York, Kansas City, San Francisco. You can't walk in a place in Dublin where there isn't a poster of him down there. England. So we did this poster thing all over the country to kind of introduce the Irish to, you know how the Irish thing is. You know?
And that's why you brought Forrest in the other day, too, then, right?
No.
At the party, just...
Forrest got nothing to do now. He's just hanging out, so he made the trip.
Dana, how do you guys decide what main events do or don't get the 3-part primetime treatment?
Well, we only have so many a year. We have a deal for primetime on how many we can do a year. So we try to figure out. Normally, it's either a big fight where there'd be interest in the guy, or a fight that needs some storytelling.
What do you mean? Could you just expand on that when you say need some storytelling?
You know, a fight that we think has a great story that needs to be told that people would be interested in. You know.
Danny, you've always said that some of your competitors, some of the faults they make is putting so much stock into one guy. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of need this guy to win or need this guy to. What happens if Conor goes out and gets smoked in the first round?
It could happen. I mean, Max Holloway is. I mean, I didn't want the whole poster thing to take away from who he's fighting. Max Holloway's the real dude. These guys are both two tough, up-and-coming guys. But at the end of the day, I'm a promoter. That's what you do. If there's something there, if there's a spark, I want to light a fire. You know what I mean? So that's what we did with Conor. If Conor loses, there's a bunch of cool posters of Conor McGregor hanging all over the Irish bar somewhere. If he wins, then it's,
Are you guys planning on doing anything to commemorate the marathon bombings at all at the event?
I haven't really had any plans, but I've been very involved in the in the bombing, financially and
You said you were involved. I said, did you get arrested?
No, you know what I meant. And last night, at the thing we did last night, there there were people from the bombing there, and I haven't really thought about it.
Hey, did you comment on Ronda went off on the fans on Twitter with, you know, where people were talking about retirement and everything, and just I was curious, you know, how she handled it and what you thought of the way she did things.
Yeah, you know, she's she's a little rough around the edges, for me to say that. Yeah, she's very, but you know, it's part of who she is. She's very aggressive. She's very emotional. You know, that's really who she is. So, yeah, I tell her to tone it down here and there, but she's, you know, she is who she is.
Would you be shocked if she did hang it up in 2 years? If she felt like she had accomplished enough in 2 years to do other things?
Ronda Rousey, she said 4 years. She said she goes in 4-year cycles, and she sees herself. I took it as she saw herself doing this for 4 more years. Was that not it?
2 more.
2? Yeah. There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell.
Even with all the Hollywood offers and stuff?
Yeah. I don't care what Hollywood offers. They ain't paying what we're paying. These guys, when they go out and make a movie, yeah, they aren't making what we're
Free
making.
craft service.
What we're paying. Yeah, yeah.
Dana, speaking of the money, with the success of Ronda Rousey, have you thought about maybe going after more Olympic athletes like Kayla Harrison, U.S. Olympic gold wrestlers, get more, you know, bigger fighters from 185 to 205 like boxing does, and get stars you can almost have pre-made?
Well, I think what's going to happen is, you know, as these Olympians start to see the success of Ronda Rousey, you know, they're going to make the decision to get into mixed martial arts and hopefully get in the UFC someday. As far as me going, what you can't do is you can't go out and get an Olympian and say, hey, listen, you should probably come. You have to have it. You have to have that in you to be in the fight business, you know? This is so different than anything else. It's the hard work and determination it takes to be here and stay here, pretty tough.
So how do you get those better athletes? Like boxing has, as you said, they have the Olympics. How do you get the 205, 2 heavyweights to come here?
It's about the money. You know, at the end of the day, it's about the money. You got these as we get these bigger TV deals, and as we keep growing and getting bigger, and you know, there's more and more money involved in the sport. That's what will motivate them to make the transition over to mixed martial arts.
You just did the whole.
Talk about, you know, you said you didn't like her. Ronda's a little rough around the edges with the way she answered. But her basic point, do you agree with? You know, a lot of fighters seem to take abuse from the fans for whatever they say, and you know, she basically said, "Hey, it's my career. Let me live it my way." You know, maybe she didn't say it as artfully as possible, but you know, essentially, do you agree with her larger point?
I do and I don't. Here's the thing: if you want to be on Twitter, get ready. Put your big girl boots on, because get ready. Shit's coming at you. You know, it's anytime you're in the public, or whether it's social media or the internet or anywhere else, people are going to say stupid shit to you, no matter what. It's going to happen, and you can't snap and flip out on everybody every time they do. You know, and she'll learn that. She's still young. She's a young girl, and she's you know, what Ronda Rousey has accomplished, you know, as far as the Olympics and now with the UFC and mixed martial arts, I'm telling you, man, she is a workhorse. Just the load that we put on her, you know what I mean? She kicks ass. She handles a lot of stuff, man. And everybody's gonna have their moments when they snap and just say, "Hey, fuck you, world, leave me alone today." You know what I mean? But those are the days that you don't pick up Twitter and push the button, and you don't get on the internet. You know, those are the days, because the only time you get smashed with that much negativity is when you go there. You know? So if you know you're having that kind of a day, just don't go there.
Dana, isn't it not worth it for your MMA fighters to even have Twitter?
Not worth it? I think it's
more trouble than it's worth.
No. How much trouble has it been for us?
It just seems like everything the culinary union's mentioning, not to say it's been impactful, but it's just all Twitter.
That stuff's going to happen. Times are changing, man. This is where these young kids live now. They live on Instagram and Twitter and the internet and all these places. You can't hide from it. You can't run and hide from it. You know, and like I said, nobody in the UFC is killing people, okay? So when they talk about the problems that I have and the things that are said, they're not anywhere near the level of problems that other major sports have.
Yeah, I'm getting back to this fight. Chael is favored against Shogun, and Shogun actually said, okay, you know, I'm cool with that. The last fight he had was for the title, and obviously Shogun's last fight was for with the number one contender. But just curious how you see that fight in that odds line. It's not a huge difference, but Chael is favored.
I think that the odds makers are totally looking at Shogun's takedown defense, because we know how this fight is going to go down. Shogun's going to want to keep this fight standing. You know, you got Freddie Roach saying he's hitting harder than, said he used to hit like a girl. Well, that's pretty scary if Shogun used to hit like a girl and what he used to do, and now he's hitting like a man, I guess. I mean, that's scary. So that alone tells you that Chael's going to want to take this thing to the ground. And I think people are looking at his ability to get Shogun down.
Can you confirm if Jake Shields and Damian Maia are going to be the main event in Brazil, and if it's going to be in São Paulo?
Who?
Jake Shields and Damian Maia.
Yeah, I literally, guys, I have been living, eating, sleeping, and breathing Fox Sports 1. That's all I'm thinking about right now. Probably, but I don't know.
And actually,
you guys probably know more than I do down there.
Speaking to that, you just did do the whole world tour. I'm curious, you know, what your sort of post-tour thoughts are. Was there one city that was especially great? Was there an uphill battle anywhere? And, you know, just how did that whole thing go?
I wasn't a big fan of the world tour. I thought it was, and Lorenzo wanted to do it. He was right. It was a home run, man. The thing was awesome. The whole thing, not just one town was better than the other. It was all good. It was great. It was the right thing to do. It was a great idea, and it was awesome.
Dana, what do you make? I asked Shogun that. You know, he hasn't won back-to-back fights in over 4 years. I mean, this is a guy that's a world-class guy, and yet he has. You know, it's been over 4 years since he went back-to-back. Does that tell you he's lost something?
I don't know, man. It's tough to tell. Usually, when a guy loses something, you lose more. You keep losing, you know. Shogun, I don't know. He's had a rough road. I mean, if you look at the fights he lost, I mean, look at the fight he lost with Dan Henderson was probably one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, if not the greatest fight I've ever seen. You know, it was unbelievable. So if you look at his fights on paper, it's tough to look at it on paper and go, oh, he won this one, he lost that one. He won this one, he lost that one. You got to see the fights to understand.
To follow up on that, though, you know, you advised Chuck, and I think most people who know the sport agree with you, to retire because he was getting knocked out. Chuck's, you know, thing was getting hit on the chin, and he's gone. But Shogun's taken a lot of abuse in some of these fights, and I wonder if that concerns you to start to wonder, even though he hasn't had the blatant knockout, the Henderson fight, the John Jones fight, you know, you add some of those together. Does that tell you that?
So here's the thing. So Chuck Liddell was getting on the chin and would go out, right? Now this guy's been a friend of mine since the, you know, late 90s, right? And you could hit Chuck in the face with that camera, and he wouldn't budge back in the day. Now he's getting tapped on the chin and he's going out, like scary out. Time to retire. So when I tell him to retire, the media, the fans, everybody starts flipping out. Who the fuck are you to tell a guy that he has to retire and he can't do this and that? Well, I'm his friend. That's who I am. I'm his friend, and I care about him, and I don't want to keep making this kind of money. How do I go and tell a guy like Shogun you can't fight anymore? You know, the guy's still one of the best in the world. He's ranked in the top 10, and he's not getting knocked out left and right. You know, is he taking punishment? Is he taking? Yeah. He's been in wars, man, knockdown, drag him out wars, you know, and what's that going to mean for him? I don't know.
The accumulation is
I know.
what you worry about, isn't it?
The difference is that everybody's different. I've seen guys, I mean, everybody here who's been involved in boxing has seen guys that have been in just nasty, crazy wars from back in the old days. There were guys who fought in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and then you saw them when they were older, and they were still had 100%, they were sharp and everything else, and then you saw other guys that were
Freddie Roach.
Not so sharp. Yeah. Well, Freddie Roach has Parkinson's disease.
Right.
You know,
it's induced Parkinson's from fighting.
I don't know, man. There's plenty of people. Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's disease. You know what I mean? There's tons of normal people who have Parkinson's disease. People always try to put that one on fighting, but it's a disease that everybody gets.
No, understood.
It's a disease that everybody gets. Anybody is capable of getting that disease. Punch drunk. You've seen guys that are punch drunk and punchy, start slurring their words, and that is from being punched in the head. That is from contact. It happens in football, it happens in hockey, it happens in mixed martial arts and boxing. And those type of side effects are the ones when you start to see that you want to tell a guy to.
But from what you see as a competitive standpoint, like, you know, even though he's lost some fights, you haven't seen him slowing down or not able to do things that he once did. You haven't seen that.
No, he's still one of the most talented guys in the world. And he's tough as nails, man. He's tough as nails. I don't know, it'd be tough to say, find somebody tougher than Shogun, man. He's fought all the best in the world, and every one of them is a knockdown, drag him out war. Or he just crushes them.
And he never says no to a fight.
Yeah. No, he is a guy you should respect and is fun to watch, and he's a guy that people look up to, not just fans but other fighters.
Dan, I know we spoke to you. Go ahead.
Speaking about turning down fights, is what Chael's saying about Vanderlei turning out? He said yesterday that Vanderlei turned down the fight, and he's going to turn down the fight if he drops to 185 and fights there next.
Vanderlei did turn down the fight. He was injured.
Is there any more reluctance than that? It was just purely an injury. Is there?
Yeah, he's not like, oh, there's no way in hell I'm fighting Chael Sonnen. That's not going to happen. Give me somebody else. Chael's going to be Chael.
Danny, what do you think when Chael says he's the biggest draw in the company?
He's a big one. He's big.
Biggest since Lesnar?
Huh? You guys love Lesnar.
Have you seen any episodes of Fight Master, and if so, what do you think of it?
I honestly have not seen it. I haven't seen it.
Dana, were you shocked that Bryant staying retired? But
No.
He didn't give you any warning or?
No, one of the other great things about this Fox deal is a lot of these guys are getting amazing opportunities. He's going to be doing college football. That's awesome. Bet he never thought I hope to get in the UFC someday so that I can analyze college football. You know what I mean? But it's one of
This fall, he's already got. It's Fox Sports 1 South or something.
Yep.
Since we already know that Chael's going to go down again to 185 after this fight, would you offer him that Vanderlei fight again? It seems like a fight he wants, and it's a fight that's kind of been brewing for a while.
He could fight Vanderlei. Yep.
Dane, I know you said you've been living Fox Sports 1, but when we talked to you in Seattle, the whole biogenesis thing was happening. You said you hadn't heard of it, you hadn't had a chance to educate yourself on it yet. In the time since, have you had a chance to do any research?
I still haven't educated myself on it. But I can tell you this, I haven't heard one word about any of our guys being involved in it.
I've seen a lot of criticism saying that, hey, obviously you're regulated by the government. We know how that works. But a lot of people saying, yes, but you should do something as well as the quote-unquote commissioner of a sport, so to speak.
I should have jumped on a plane and flew down to Florida to go talk to the biogenesis guys. Fucking kidding me? Why would I do that? You know what I mean? These guys get tested by the government. I don't give a shit about biogenesis.
I mean, is there any concern that if these names do come out and they are on your roster, it could cause damage in the way that has caused damage to baseball, cycling, that sort of thing, and that maybe being proactive on it would help address it a little bit?
I got so much shit to do. I can barely keep up with what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? I already don't sleep. I'm not going to go fly down there or get on the phone with these guys. I'm just, believe me, if bad shit's going to happen, it's going to come to me. I don't got to go chasing it. I'm going to start chasing bad shit now. I don't have enough bad shit happen to me every day. Trying to put on a fucking fight to launch a network, and I got some union, puppet, messing with me down there. Let me run down to Florida real quick too and see what other shit I can stir up and get put on my plate.
There's an expression.
Sounds like a good idea.
There's an expression in Ireland that's called pissing into the wind. Bellator recently held open trials in the UK and have signed a couple of UK fighters. Considering it's taken you so long to break into the UK and Ireland market, do you think that they're wasting their time? They're starting so far behind, and you've recently got the big deal in the UK and Ireland.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I don't want to say they think they're bigger than they are, because I think I know where they are. They just don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They try to copy things instead of being original and doing, original things. They're not involved in this because they love the sport and they're looking to push the sport forward and they're trying to do all these things. They're in it because they want to make money.
While Paul Daly was having legal troubles getting into the US, they granted him the chance to fight in Ireland or in the UK, and they blocked 5 opponents, one of them being an Irish fighter, because they thought if Daly lost it, then he wouldn't be marketable to them. Have you spoke to Daly? I know that he's signed a 3-fight deal with Bama, they're a British promotion, but did you get in contact with him?
No.
So that's a shut case.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty clear on where I am with Paul Daly. Plus, Paul Daly would, I'm not saying that Paul Daly couldn't change, and what he did, he's the only guy that's ever done that in the history of the UFC, our UFC, since we've been here. Literally walked over. You just fought a guy for 15 minutes. It's all legal. You can do whatever you want. Then after the fight, he walks over and sucker punches him in the face. Just. I hate it, man. It's just not saying that he couldn't be forgiven and it couldn't change, but he'd have to win some fights, and I don't know what he'd have to do. I'm not there though.
Dana, would you ever induct someone into the UFC Hall of Fame who hasn't worked for the Zuffa-owned UFC?
No, that would be pretty weird. I mean, the UFC Hall of Fame are guys that, you know,
Sakuraba, other guys who fought before you.
I love Sakuraba. You know, I love Sakuraba.
But do you have to have worked
I'm
for
a huge
Zuffa-owned UFC
Sakuraba
to be
fan.
inducted? It seems like that's the criteria.
Yeah. Huge Sakuraba fan. Yeah. I agree.
Dana, kicking off the network tomorrow, will the production look any different?
With what?
Kicking off Fox Sports 1 tomorrow, will the production of the show look any different?
No. Production will be the same. As we continue this relationship with Fox, you know, they've had a lot of good input and things that we're trying and different things that we're going to do. So, you know, as technology gets better and, you know, we'll keep changing things up like we always have, but no immediate stuff for this launch. I can tell you this: are all you guys coming tonight for the yeah? So the president of Fox called me the other day, and he's on like episode 4 of The Ultimate Fighter, and he says,
binge watching.
He's like, "This is the best Ultimate Fighter I've ever seen." He
Is
said
that
this
Shanks,
show
Dana?
is
Shanks?
unbelievable. Yeah, Eric Shanks says it's the best Ultimate Fighter he's ever seen. He loves it.
You just get to put that on somebody else instead of you saying it's the best ever.
Well, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Really?
No, I haven't seen it. He's seen it. I haven't.
Do you know if the channel numbers have stayed the same on DirecTV?
So we're putting out. I'm going to be tweeting, and I would appreciate it if you guys would tweet it. We're putting out a finder on how to find Fox Sports 1. So I'm gonna tweet that today, or if I might
It's the
have
old
already.
Fox Soccer channel, isn't it? Is that what they're doing?
It's Speed. Yeah, it was the old Speed. But what happens in these deals, and I'm not saying this happened, I don't know if it did or didn't. A lot of times when they negotiate the deal, they negotiate a new spot, a new number on the, you know what I mean? Right. So I don't know if that happened or not, but I'm gonna get it out there, and I will definitely need the help of you guys to help it reach all the fans.
Dana, any plans to perhaps come to different states around New England, some of the smaller ones, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island?
Yeah, so my grandparents used to live up in Maine outside of Bangor. So I have a place up there, and they just built a new arena in Bangor. And they have a casino there too. It's a really nice casino. I was blown away when I saw it. You know, I heard they had a casino there, and I was expecting one of those places we used to see in California. It was like a tin hut. You know, I was thinking it was going to be something like that, and I went, and it was beautiful. So, you know, it's kind of I would love to do a fight night up there in Bangor. So I'm trying to get that done. I don't know if I can pull it off financially, but.
Well, and that might be easier than Rhode Island. Rhode Island, if you're having politics problems here, I know Rhode Island can be a little dicey.
Yeah, but again, it's not that we're having trouble here. Yeah. It's union. It's just it's all bullshit. None of this is real. What the problems we're having here are all just bullshit.
Dana, on Ronda, you talked about how she could be rough around the edges. We're hearing that maybe on Ultimate Fighter she comes off very brash at certain points. She gets very emotional and rough. Mm-hmm. Are you concerned that would kind of damage the perfect image for her as far as
Does she have the perfect image? She doesn't.
Whatever you would think the perfect image would be.
She says fuck more than I do. You know what I mean? Yeah. She does. She is who she is, and I think people like her, you know, for her fighting style and the type of person that she is. Ronda's awesome, man. And yes, the thing that people don't understand, and you know, you'll hear the people talking about, oh, they try to do this for the. I don't try to do anything. We bring the people in to the show, and then it all just happens. This thing is a pressure cooker. She really, really dislikes Miesha Tate. I mean, her dislike for Miesha Tate is more than Misha's dislike for her, you know? And, you know, it comes off. And don't forget, this is the first time that Ronda's crew has been around Bryant and Miesha since Bryant said, I want to smash her teeth out on Twitter. So we had a rocky start. It was a rocky start.
Uriah Faber yesterday talked about wanting to talk to you and Lorenzo about a super fight after Saturday night, possibly going 145 pounds.
Well, super fights are with champions, between champions, you know what I mean? Who would he have a super fight with?
Well, some people are thinking that Frankie Edgar might make a lot of sense. I think when he says super fight, I think he's thinking of a name guy.
Cool.
Speaking of broadcast changes, when at all do you think you guys might retire Face the Pain?
Yeah, Face the Pain.
Not anti-Face the Pain, but some people are.
Right. They can mute their television.
Forever.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I like it. It fits. It's just it's you know.
I like it too.
Sorry. It's like retiring Buffer saying it's time, or it's like, you know. You'd have to go out. You'd have to find another piece that fit, that was perfect. You'd have to license it. You got to go through all this. You know what I mean? It works.
Breathe the sigh of relief.
It works. And then what genre do you go with? You know, I see the same thing you see on the internet. Oh, this new death metal or whatever the hell they call it. And you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what genre of music you're into or what you like or what you think. When you're in that arena and that thing goes off, it's like, God damn, there's going to be a fight tonight. You know what I mean? It really does get you fired up. All right, we're scraping the bucket now. We're asking about music and shit.
Dan, can I ask you something with Dana? With the Kane and JDS coming up in October, and I'm thinking about the Fox 1 show. You went on the post show and just totally tore Kane apart for not shooting in that fight where he had the bad leg and got knocked out, and then he just totally did that in the second fight and was very, very effective. When you look back on your response on Fox, the first show, to Kane in that fight, do you feel any differently about it in retrospect, or was that all emotion talking that night?
I'm a fan at the end of the day. I mean, I don't think I was asking a question that any other fan wasn't asking. You know, it was just because I'm the president of the company doesn't mean that I can't say, why didn't he shoot on him? Why didn't this guy do that? Why didn't that you know? So no, I mean, I wasn't attacking him, and it wasn't emotional. I was just simply asking a question. It just blows my mind that he didn't try to shoot. So no.
Dana, you talk a lot about how don't leave in the hands of judges. Have you ever thought about going to some of these commissions saying, look, you put these same judges in our fights, we won't come back to your town? I mean, do you ever think about putting a blacklist for judges?
No, I mean, it's just, that's one of the things that are totally out of my hands. You know, we're regulated by the Athletic Commission. All I can really do is keep talking about it, but it seems like when I talk about it, they want to throw these guys in there even more, whether it's referees or judges, just to, you know, almost stick it to me.
Any update on Dominic Cruz? Almost 2 years since he's competed.
Yeah, we're hoping that he's going to be back the first of the year.
You think we'll ever see knees to the head on grounded opponents?
I don't know. It'd be a long time before that happens because you have to go in and change, you know, the rules. So
most people say never. I don't see any reason for hope on that. What do you think?
Yeah, it would change the game a lot. It would change the game a lot, and I think it's one of those things because what has to come out first is this putting the hand down thing, you know.
Dana, what are your thoughts on John Howard returning?
I like John Howard. I like him. He's a tough guy, man. He always comes to fight. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy to have him back.
You know, you said you were mixed on whether, it depends if you come back to Boston on how this goes. Would you ever? I know you've talked. I believe in the past you've talked about maybe having one at Fenway outdoors. Would you ever? Is that still something you're considering?
Yeah,
down the
after
road,
the last time we were here, we had a lot of great conversations with Fenway, Kraft, all these guys about doing stuff out here, and then we come in and these, we're dealing with this goofy shit, So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going to the Pats game tomorrow. What time are you doing that hit?
Me too. So I'm doing the weigh-ins, and then I'm getting how.
I was going to ask you for a ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, it's going to stink. I do.
How crazy is it going to be for me to leave here and go to the game, huh?
You might have to leave around 2 o'clock.
No, well, that's the thing, because we have to go right after the weigh-ins to try to get to Gillette. But the game's at 8.
There's a train. There's a train, Dana, but it'll be about 5 to 10
This is gonna get worse.
Jump on the train, bro.
You guys are gonna laugh at me, but can you take a helicopter? Can you helicopter down there?
We were joking about that.
He's smart.
Yeah, we
That's what I'm saying. I want to ride.
take a helicopter. In our vast experience, you can take a helicopter.
Let me tell you what, in Brazil is fucking brutal. The traffic to get to the arena, I take a helicopter. Lorenzo doesn't like helicopters. He's like, you're fucking crazy. I don't like flying in helicopters and shit. I said, no, go sit in the traffic then. He changed his mind on helicopters after he did that ride back from the arena back to Rio, man. I just, no way in hell.
Comcast Sports New England is sending their cameras after your weigh-in to Foxborough. You should probably contact them.
I'm literally, we're driving right from the weigh-ins to the game.
They're doing the same thing.
I'm gonna figure it out then.
But what time are you doing that? And that's on the Fox broadcast, obviously. And so you're going to be hyping what's going on.
Right.
They're having you talk for a couple minutes about it.
Right.
Yeah.
The 27
Dana,
bus
any interest
connects
in
to
Ben
12,
Askren? Ben Askren's Bellator deal is up. Any interest in Ben Askren?
Yeah, we'll talk to Ben. Yeah, we'll talk to him.
Are concerned about his fighting style?
You can do that in Bellator. You know what I mean? It's gonna be tougher to do here.
In planning for this card, you had said there was a few different fights, main events you were considering. What were the other fights you were considering for the headliner?
Here?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't even remember now. I don't even remember, but yeah, we had gone through a few different fights. I think we were talking Vitor Vanderlei, and Vanderlei was hurt, you know, so I don't remember what the others were.
Any update on who Sarah Kaufman's going to fight next? She was supposed to fight Sarah McMahon.
There might be. I just don't know. I'm so out of the loop right now. Yeah, this is all I've been working on. I mean, I've been focused on this thing for a while now. You done with me?
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Nice.
Thanks,
Have a great day. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if we